everyone, this is Yana and you're watching Inspired by Pinterest video series. For my today's card, I was inspired by this image with a fun triangle-like background and bold sentiment that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. I liked the color combo and the idea, so I decided to recreate this on a one-layer card. To create the card, I'm going to be using this stamp set from Hero Arts in basic gray called Totally. I really like the large cityscape image with the skyscrapers, as well as this hello. The font there is just so very modern and unique, and I will be pairing that with a Totally Wonderful. I also have another stamp set from Hero Arts, the brushstroke stamp set, and it's one of my favorite sets. I have been using these brushstroke images to create really cool and one-of-a-kind backgrounds. So today I plan to use this stamp along with a smaller stamp. Maybe I'll use a few more stamps from this set, but I'm not just sure at the moment. Finally, I'm going to use a stencil from Hero Arts in basic gray called the Small Square Grid Stencil, and I will be doing some embossing, some dry embossing, using the stencil and my die cutting machine. As for the inks, I have a few colors from Hero Arts. These are the Soft Vanilla, the Neon Pink, the Wet Cement, and the Cup of Joe. And of course I'll be using black to do my sentiment stamping for this card. I'm going to start working on my card by creating an A2 top folding card base, and I'm using Hero Arts Snow White cardstock for this. So I'm just scoring my card base, going to fold it in half and flatten that fold line. Okay, unlike my other cards, I'm going to start working on the main images first, the sentiment and the cityscape, and I'll be adding the background later. Usually I do this vice versa. I make a background first and then add everything else, but I'll explain why I'm doing it this way later. So I'm going to stamp hello using the Hero Arts black ink, and I've mounted this onto a long clear block with grid lines so that I can make sure that my stamping is straight. I'm going to stamp the hello first, and I'm trying to make sure that it's centered on my card. Then stamp the cityscape next, again making sure that it's centered on my card front. Now I'm stamping my images first and then the background, because this way I can make sure that I do not make some areas of my background too dark. I know I won't be using black for my background, but I do plan to use Cup of Joe brown ink, and I need to make sure that I do not stamp it behind the skyscrapers, otherwise they won't be as visible as I'd like them to be. So the images that I'm stamping now are pretty much going to be guiding my background stamping later, and they're going to help me to visualize which areas need to be lighter and which areas can be darker. Now, I did forget to mention that I taped my card shut and also taped it to my work surface. I used removable adhesive from Scrapbook Adhesives, and after I'm done with my stamping, I'm simply going to rub it off with my finger. It also rubs off easily with a pencil eraser. I did that so that my paper would not move and would not catch any of the ink that ends up on my craft mat. This really helps to keep the back of the card clean. My main stamping is done, so I can now move on to working on my background. Okay, so I'm going to start with a neon pink for my first color, and I'm going to try to stamp this image in 3 areas on my card to create a visual triangle. I'm starting with this color as it's the most vibrant of all the colors that I have selected, and I'm making sure to stamp it 3 times because, again, it's the most vibrant and the most noticeable color of all the colors that I plan to use. I'm going to rotate this stamp just to add a bit of variety to my background. Now, before I go ahead and stamp this one last time, I need to clean my stamp because I have the black ink transfer from my previous stamping. This can be avoided if you stamp the background first and then add the other stamping, but I needed to make sure that I had my main images there first so that they would guide my color choices for my background. I'm using a baby wipe and a Hero Arts Ultra Clean cleaning solution to clean my stamps. It's a wonderful cleaning solution for both clear and rubber stamps, and if you haven't used it, I highly recommend it. It's really the best one out there. So I'm going to continue working on my background, stamping this same image using other colors of ink until I have the entire area filled with various colors. So after I've added the soft vanilla images, I'm using the wet cement and stamping that again, making sure my stamp is clean from any ink transfer from the other images stamped in black. Now, after I stamped a few images in that soft vanilla ink, I realized that this yellow was not as yellow as I had expected it to be. It's a nice color, but I wanted to have a more vibrant yellow on my card. So I grabbed the butter bar ink and added a few highlights to my card just here and there. And you can see how big of a difference that makes. Now that my background is done, it's time to add that dry embossing using a stencil. I've added a tiny bit of removable adhesive to a stencil, and I'm going to position it on my card base just so the design of the stencil ends right below the fold line, and I'm going to try to keep it centered. I'm then going to press down on that piece where I have the adhesive, and this is going to help me keep the stencil in place while I move it to my die cutting machine to emboss this piece. Notice that my card base lays open, it's not closed. If I put it closed, I'm going to end up having embossing in both the front and the back, and I only want to have it on the front. So I'm going to place this upside down onto my gray plate, then put a tan embossing mat on top, making sure I only cover the area that I need to emboss, and cover that with my second pink plate. Now these plates are from my Artisan Explorer machine from Spellbinders, but it's not going to fit in that machine, so I'm going to use my Grand Caliber machine and quickly emboss it in there. Grand Caliber uses the same plates as the Artisan Explorer, so I do not need to look for any adapter plates or anything of that sort. After I've embossed, I'm going to carefully remove the stencil and again, carefully remove my paper from the tan embossing mat. Your paper might stick to the tan embossing mat from all the pressure from the machine, so make sure you do not hurry when picking it up so that you do not tear your paper. And now you can see how cool this background turned out. You have a fun stamped brushstroke-like background along with a little bit of embossing. You do have to make sure that you do your stamping first, and only after your stamping is completely done, do the embossing. It's quite hard to stamp evenly on a raised embossed surface, so that's why dry embossing has to be done at the very end. Finally, to finish my card, I'm going to add a few black gems from Hero Arts and a bit of glitter using Wink of Stella glitter pen to the tallest skyscraper. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching my video. You can find the list of supplies to create this card in the video description and also on my blog. If you're looking for more videos using products from Hero Arts, be sure to check out the link you see on the screen. Please click the thumbs up button if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I have new videos coming out every week. Thanks, and bye!